Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the Chief Creative Officer and Chief Marketing Officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume. This is part 2 of our interview with Bobby Lopez and Kristen Anderson-Lopez. You might want to go back, give part 1 a listen or not. However you're doing it right. Enjoy the show.
The Sparkfile podcast may contain profanity and other adult content.
Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
By the time I was in college, I was pretty burned out already. And I really didn't have any kind of plan or any shows that anybody wanted to do.
Interesting.
So for me, it was a lot of doubt. And there was a moment I joined the BMI workshop, and Ellen Menken came and did a masterclass, and I did a couple of songs from this project that I was doing, and he just, I don't know, the mood wasn't right. It didn't spark, and he kind of laid into them. So that was my moment of like, I can't do this. I'm not good. I threw that project away. And that's when I started collaborating.
So was it when you started linking with collaborators that it's that key turn for you and you started to enjoy it again a little more?
Yes, that's what happened.
Amazing.
And it was because I was literally thinking, this is for fun. I started writing a project with Jeff Marks.
Yeah.
We wrote it was a really silly, subversive thing.
Kermit?
No, it wasn't that one.
Wasn't that?
It was,
I was like, we sang this at a
called
thing, didn't we?
Hansel and Gretel in Disneyland. And it was sort of an adaptation where Hansel and Gretel run away from an abusive uncle.
But it had a song. It had a song that was like, "Don't give Disney your brain." And guess what we did?
Don't give Disney your brain. It's a lovely place to visit, but not to remain. Yeah. So, and it was just for fun, and I actually had fun, and that showed through, and I learned so much from working with Jeff. And
can I just jump in with an insight here for a second?
Yeah.
I am wondering if your mom on some level was always a collaborator with you when you were doing stuff like that.
Deep, man.
No,
that is deep.
Because
I'm interested. Tell me more.
it only occurred to me when you were like, I wasn't feeling it in college. That was when you went off to write alone.
Yeah.
Without
I think
your
that's
mom.
absolutely right.
Without your mom being
wow.
there. Because his mom was such a supporter of, and such a sounding board and such a, just huge vessel of like warmth and cheerleading.
And you know what? I bet all these novels that are on the shelves, like there's a mom or someone like that.
Or a wife.
Who are just
Or a
providing all
partner,
of that
a first
echo.
reader, a discussion partner.
Exactly.
Yes.
There was collaborators there.
Yeah.
And I think that was a lesson
That's
I learned. It was
interesting.
like, people who claim sole authorship are just entitled.
Nobody does anything alone.
No, but I don't think anybody does things alone. And I'm now putting it together. Like I sort of played that bouncing off role and cheerleader for you in the early part of your career.
For sure. Kristen was there.
We'd go
helping.
for long walks and I'd be giving dramaturgical suggestions and saying like, Avenue Q is about, it sounds to me like it's about what happens when you realize you're not special. And then he would go and
Shut up.
I got it. Now
we can be that for each other.
Just
and we have been.
But we were
for
saying
each other.
leading, like breaking that story and leading to the place where you actually can go, now shut up and I'm going to write.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Because that's what we're all trying to get to.
Yeah.
It takes a while sometimes. Bobby, to this point, you've partnered with some strong creative personalities. You talked about Jeff Marks, Jeff Whitty on Avenue Q, Trey Parker and Matt Stone on Book of Mormon. Kristen, you're a strong, confident presence as well. Bobby, in my experiences, you are very kind, sweet, but smart. But a little, it's tricky because you look like a Campbell's Soup kid, all grown up.
He looks like an angry Campbell's Soup kid though, because of his eyebrows. I always used to say when he was
This
like,
soup is cold.
that like he was like, people don't come up to me and they're not friendly to me unless I wear a mask on Halloween, and then people are so giving. And we tried to break it down.
No, when I'm a Ghostbuster, they're like, "Yeah, man, yeah,
yes."
They're drunk.
And I was like, maybe it's the eyebrows. Like his eyebrows they're
So you
striking.
immediately shaved them.
Yeah.
And that's why you look the way you look today. But I have to say, like, you have been part of such powerful creative collaborations.
That's right.
How do you live in those? One of the things I'll also sidebar by saying, one of the things I love so much about you is I love people who are wildly successful and also sane, kind, balanced, which you both are. And I'm just wondering, like, how do you live in those creative collaborations with strong creative personalities?
Well, all those people are kind. All those people, they're not, none of them are browbeating at all. Kristen
I love
super
Jeff
kind.
Marks. Jeff Marks can be formidable. He's always been a sweet, sweet kitten to me, but I know that he can be formidable.
He can, but he's kind when you're working together. He listens and he tries everything. He taught me a lot of those principles, actually. And Trey Parker is very strong and loves to hog the pen, but he's super kind and super nice and listens, and there's a lot of back and forth. He just likes to do the drafting, and then it's a sort of a.
But Bobby sits at the piano. I mean, the thing that with
You
all
have
of
a
these
superpower.
with all of these collaborations, Bobby's the one at the piano, so he holds the musical pen.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so it gives him a huge amount of power. Ultimately, you can talk and talk and talk. You can write the words all you want, but at some point,
Somebody's got to play the music.
somebody's got to
That's
play the
right.
music,
Yeah.
and that's when Bobby's like, "Bob is at the wheel."
Wait, where's Bobby? Oh shit, he's writing the music. God damn it.
There is a measure of control and contribution in that, though, isn't there? Because nobody can any of the other people that I just mentioned. Could they?
Yes, they
Could
can.
they?
I mean, Jeff can
But
play.
not like
Jeff
you,
can
baby.
write.
Not like you, Bobby.
Trey can play. Kristen doesn't play, but she
I
wants to
play a
learn.
mean flute.
I'd like to hear that.
Very hard to sing and play the flute at the same time.
That partnership element that you talked about earlier, the communication, like, do you have that with all your collaborators?
Oh.
Is that like a baseline? Like, I need someone that I can do this with and really hear me. And
I wish I could say that all our collaborations are that healthy. There are some that we can have that, pick up that phone and say, like, we had a rough day and we need to talk about something, and we can have those conversations.
Yeah.
There are others that there's not that,
Yeah.
and not.
I'm thankful to hear that. I'm comforted by that.
I mean, it's a different thing with directors, right? Directors are in a different place then, and sometimes they just don't want you to have that conversation with you.
if they don't have time or the interest, we
Right.
just have to do it.
Book writers, hopefully, like when everyone we're working with right now, we have that. Everyone we're working with
so
right now. And we've learned now, like if you start to get to that place where you couldn't pick up the phone and say, we need to talk about how we are doing it.
Yeah.
That's when it starts to get toxic. And that's when inevitably it's going to break down in some way. And luckily we haven't had too many of those, but that's a scary place to be with like years of work.
Do you find like you have a willingness to pull that plug if you need to? Like this really isn't working?
Ooh.
Or are you like, I'm going to make this work. I'm going to muscle through.
It depends.
Yeah, these are some high stakes players. These are some big rollers
These are
right
some
here.
big rollers.
You're some big wave riders. Yeah. You are. You do
really
these
are.
very like highly visible, like high pressure jobs.
Yeah.
Right. But the ones that, I mean, they're only high pressure when they get greenlit. The ones that are under the radar, there's always a vetting process there.
Yeah.
And the ones that fall apart because of not seeing eye to eye or not being able to just hear each other, they don't get to
We won't know about those.
they don't rise.
Interesting.
They don't rise to the big wave level.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because some of the things we've written, some of our favorite songs we've ever written have been for projects that died on the vine. That, I mean, everybody has chunk songs, but and some people know how to recycle them. We're trying to get better at it.
Yeah.
At saying like, that thing we wrote for that thing, let's just kick some sand over it and give it to that.
Does that ever work? Does it work?
Yeah.
Can it?
Melodically and like energetically, if there are similar moments,
Right.
it can totally work. If the song was really written to like a very specific,
Solve a problem or
Right.
Then not so much.
no.
Right. Yeah. Intricate musical scenes, probably not. but
there might be a figure or-
jingles,
yeah.
things like that. Those can be reused.
Yeah.
Anything
Over
that's very
and over
song-like.
again.
Like we did a podcast. We wrote the theme song for Mama's Talking Loud, the Broadway Baby Mamas podcast, and that was something that died. And we just they said,
have
"Did
we
you
got a
write
jingle
it?"
for you? I love that.
I'm really curious. I feel like I keep going with these sort of dark questions, but there's a reason for that.
We're dark.
Because
We bring out your
you're so
darkness.
dark ever since I stepped in here. But we're fascinated, and I think a lot of our listeners are fascinated with just the idea of how you process failure or perceived failure. Because like we just mentioned, like we don't hear about that. And meanwhile, when you're going through it, you're feeling all the feelings and sometimes feeling devastated by it, or I'll never recover from this. Has that ever happened to you? Have you had any of those?
Have we ever had failure?
Oh, yeah.
I think
I
there's
mean,
different
well, first
kinds
of
of
all-
failure.
Hey, who's gonna answer this question? Huh?
All right. I'm so eager to talk about failure. No,
Who's
you
going to
go.
win?
No,
You go.
You go.
How about we take turns? How about we take turns?
How did you do a word and you do a word and you do a word and you do a word?
I guess there's failure that one perceives like, ooh, we didn't hit the bar that we set for ourselves.
Right.
And then there's failure that comes in the form of a critic taking something that you felt was really working
Yeah.
and not understanding it or not seeing it. So
That's a great distinction.
there's those failures that you can feel happen before they happen, that you were like, why did I let it get to that? Why didn't I speak up, or why didn't I do something? And then there's the just dealing with like, actually, I thought that really worked and I was really moved, but
Right.
so the white male that just weighed in did not. Like,
Well, we talk about that in terms of like who holds the measuring stick for your success. Do you find that you're able to stick with your original, like, I felt good about that, I'm proud of that song, or do you hand that measuring stick over to someone else and they determine the success of that song or that work?
I'm trying to get much better about knowing, like, I feel like I don't want to get into the next decade and not have my own eyes and see through my own eyes. Because I can very easily give my eyes away.
Sure.
And suddenly I just see myself through the white male
That's right.
that's weighing in on my female work.
That's right. That's right.
And just learning how to and that there's this wonderful body of women playwrights and writers also who have come and risen up to speak out about what it means to have your work go through this tiny little small idea of what a successful female-driven project can be or look like.
Yep.
So like Sarah Rule, last time that I had to deal with some hard criticism from someone who's not my demographic, Sarah Rule definitely wrote me this beautiful email where she had processed her own experience of what does it mean to always ask, did he like it? Did he like it? I think it's called Did He Like It?
Oh,
and
I'm going to look that up.
Actually, I think you're going to get to see it in some form hopefully soon.
Oh, great.
But it was a balm for my soul.
Yeah.
I remember reading it in the desert in Arizona and just sort of feeling like I was on my own spiritual journey to reconcile the did he like it of where I am in this career and how do we make that change, but also how do we accept it and find the strength to move forward in a world where the change isn't happening that fast.
Mm-hmm. Word.
So yeah, I mean, now I'm interested in your
failure. What's your failure?
That's amazing.
Well, I was going to say there are two different kinds of failure, but there are two different kinds.
Two more different
kinds. There must be at least four. Yeah.
4 different kinds of failure. There's the kind that happens in a bar.
Yeah, there's the kind where you're just sitting down on a couch and you realize that's it for me. I was going to say there's the kind of failure that you experience in every process and every project where like you just cannot get away from it during the process.
Yeah.
And the only way to get to success is through all those moments of failure of realizing, oh no, we don't have it yet. We need to go back.
Yeah.
And then there's that huge disappointment of knowing that you failed yourself. You failed. Oof. You weren't hard enough on yourself. Or maybe you were too protective of the work,
mm-hmm.
and you didn't allow it to go through the crucible that it needed to go through.
The Oedipus kind of failure, where you was like, I was blind, and I screwed my mom.
But it's what you were saying earlier.
It's a very specific kind of failure.
You were saying earlier that sometimes you have really stuck to your true north to the detriment of flexibility.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm thinking of this piece up here, which was really almost autobiographical, not exactly, but just inspired by me and Kristen. We were kind of writing about ourselves in a way, and there was a very high concept idea.
We were mostly writing about Bobby, which might be part of the problem, which was part of the problem.
Man singing.
Please stop man singing to me.
And I think that I felt somewhat the need to protect this idea, this concept, and the structure of it. I wanted to see a particular thing, and I really fought really hard for it. And sometimes I think of that song from Title of Show, the change it, don't change it, change it, don't change it. And I was really on the don't change it side of that on that project. And that really did a lot of, when you really stick to your guns that hard and you believe in yourself that much, the come down is extra hard, or at least it was for me in this case.
Sure.
It coincided right with my 40th birthday, and it just felt
I
like
was at that birthday party.
Yeah,
and it's interesting because that was a great birthday party. You hear, by the way.
I thought he was doing great. He was like at the top of his game. I had all the cast singing.
I know.
Made a video.
The thing that struck us, there were messages from. How old are you now?
45.
So I had just started dating Nathan, and I brought him to that party. And you put together this, Kristen, you put together this beautiful reel of all the casts of all the shows that you currently have running around the world.
Wow.
Wishing you a happy birthday. And Nathan was like, fuck, these people are serious. Like this, like
They're really doing it.
I mean, you're really
It was amazing.
at 40.
I mean,
like
it was
you're from other perspectives, we might be like, you're crushing it, but there was some different feeling.
Yeah.
on
You know
the
what?
inside.
I think that was
maybe
before Up Here. I think
But
that,
no,
it was.
it was a little bit before Up Here, but the crash was coming
Yeah.
because I must have been intuiting, like, why would I have put that together? I could tell that Bobby was maybe feeling a little uncertain after Book of Mormon opened, of like, after Book of Mormon and after Frozen, there was sometimes success can be far scarier than failure, because failure you can control your rise from, but success you've given your eyes away and you kind of feel like, how do I keep playing this role that I have just
keep
been
all
given?
these people happy.
And so I thought I must have intuited for that 40th birthday that Bobby needed some cheering up, and I thought he would appreciate that. Like, look at all these people who you've employed. Like you are paying for their cat food and their health insurance, and I thought that would mean something. But I think that
It tipped
just
you
put
right
more
over the edge.
pressure.
So how did you come out of that, whatever that malaise was?
It was just really hard, but it just took a lot of first of all, we didn't have any chance to breathe. We were writing, we had to come right out of Up Here into Frozen Broadway. All of a sudden they called us into a room, and there was an easel with a canvas draped over it, and they pulled the canvas off, and there was a big schedule, big spreadsheet printed out on a huge, with like all these little boxes, and like, here's when you meet this deliverable.
It was
Here's when you meet this
they
one.
had created an Excel spreadsheet of our weeks and hours of work, because they were working at the time. They were also dealing with us working on Frozen 2, and someone at Disney had taken our lives and put it in an Excel spreadsheet. And I started.
Here's how it is theoretically possible for you to accomplish this.
I started crying at this because it also felt like talking about surfing the big wave.
God.
It also meant that we weren't in control anymore, and that I was going to have to. I was going to have to double down on the few things I wanted to have control over, and I was going to have to decide what those were, and they were going to be our children. Like I was, all other projects had to go to the wayside, and it was going to be about making sure that we still get our breaks with our children, and that we didn't have to travel too much without our children.
And here's the other thing that we had done, thankfully. I think this without this person, we probably wouldn't have made it. We had hired an assistant named Tavia, who is now still with us, and she's like
the
our executive creative
coordinator.
She's got a good title.
Yes.
Yeah, she's got a good title,
Love
and
that, Tavia.
and she does a lot. And she really she made it possible for us to make it through all this, all the creativity and take some of the other work off of our plate.
God, this is what I'm talking about. See the sanity, see the balance, see the kindness.
Yeah, I see it.
I
see it all. And what I'm hearing you say is like, you just didn't have time to.
We didn't have time. We did process it.
anything.
I mean,
You didn't have time for a crack up.
You know,
had to.
There was plenty of cracking up. There was plenty of cracking up, and sometimes you have to smash against the rocks. We did that, I think, and we.
Yeah, 2016 is not a year I'd like to look back on too much. It was a really like white knuckle of a 2016, and like until May of 2017 was just like dark.
Wow.
Like,
but we got
because of the amount of work pressure,
just not having a second to process anything, not having any control to even say, guys, we have to take the day off.
I need a minute.
I need a minute. Like there was no control of like, I mean, thank God we had our kids just keeping us like stable and they, no matter what, our kids needed to be fed and needed to be put to bed, and lullabies needed to be sung.
Yeah.
But during that time, we hadn't learned the conscious dialogue. So we weren't communicating about how each of us was experiencing the pressure.
Yeah, we
I
had
was
to
also,
learn
But it
how
sounds
to
like
be
you were
together
just
again.
getting
Yeah.
like deliverable done and getting to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing.
right.
You know,
But also remember Bobby at Yale working all by himself. It was also, I had to leave to go work on In Transit. And he was alone for the first time without his collaborator, and
that's
that
not
never
good.
goes well.
so
If
you
we
were-
learned one thing from this interview,
gosh.
it's that.
So
Yeah.
I, on some level was dealing with developing Frozen for Broadway while also having this a cappella musical that sort of came out of the blue. It just showed up and it was like, now you're doing it, and you're doing it with a new director.
It was because a theater opened
Because of
up.
real estate.
When,
Yeah, it had
when
to
a
be real
theater
estate,
opens up,
yeah.
you
That's
kind of have to
right.
just go.
yeah.
So it was, both of us were just like gritting our teeth and getting through. And that is not the way to have a happy life.
It may not
Yeah.
be sustainable. Like you experienced it for a period of time, and what you may have learned is it's not sustainable, and you don't want a lifetime full of just that.
I'd say it was like a pretty big breakdown, and then we had to, and again, it's like giving up and realizing not all is lost,
Yeah.
and actually there's so much wonderful stuff to be
You
grateful
look at the
for,
Lego City in the
Yeah.
gymnasium.
I mean,
you see what
yeah,
buildings are still
exactly.
standing.
Yeah.
You rebuild from there.
I was saying that
saying something nice
it's
about
so-
me, I think.
well, that there was just one moment where Kristen was yelling at me. I just remember. I think it was in this room.
Oh, it wasn't
Not
a
yelling.
nice thing.
Take us back.
No. This
Yeah,
was
what was that?
just sort of chewed me out for everything that I had that I was completely
Yeah.
ungrateful for.
You're
And-
focusing on what you.
Maybe I could have
Happened.
been more gentle.
No,
about
I don't
that.
think I don't think it would have really hit me as hard as it did.
Yeah.
And in that moment, I felt the gratitude, and I put that whole thing aside, and I focused on Kristen, and realized like the people that you are writing with and the relationships that you have
Yes.
are so much more important
Yes.
than the stuff we're writing, than the stuff that
Yes.
comes
Yes.
out of the writing. Like it is, I'm so lucky just to forget writing, forget creativity, just to get to be with Kristen.
That's
And-
very sweet.
Come on.
And the fact that we
You're really
have
going to
so
get
much
some
fun
tonight.
together.
Yes. yes.
We do. I mean, that was a moment of like out of the 2017 wreckage, which had also, my whole white knuckling it through In Transit and trying to, and saying yes, that I could be all things to all people.
I don't know how you did this.
Well, it wasn't great. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't, I shouldn't have done it is what, I mean, I did it for my friends. I was in a
Yeah.
crazy position,
Yeah.
but what it taught me is say no to some things.
Yeah.
Like you just got to say no sometimes.
Yeah.
And I've said no to some amazing experiences just because I was like, I don't ever want to get back
I
there.
don't want to do that again.
But the other thing out of that I've learned is when things fall apart completely
Yeah.
is sometimes this amazing, we actually wrote a song out of it called When Everything Falls Apart, which like the blessings of the whole thing crashing and like getting a terrible New York Times review and being in a giant fight with your husband and like just having it all crash is this wonderful moment of like the light sort of starts to shine and the wind, like all the house is falling down and there's all this air and and there's
Breakdown, breakthrough.
Yes,
Yeah. Yes.
yes.
and out
I
of
love that.
we've learned
Look,
to
honey, we have a skylight now.
and we also learned to like when songs fall or projects fall apart, to instead of be like, oh, failure, to be like, now we get a chance to write more songs together.
That's
Like,
right.
Wow.
we get to do what we do. And we would do on vacation. We write songs on vacation for fun. So if we can just think of every new project as the songs that we're writing on vacation.
That's right.
The thing I love about this is it does harken back to a conversation I had with you. You may not remember this. This was years ago. I do remember we were in the basement of the Vineyard. So I'm guessing, I don't know, it was post-show something. And Book of Mormon had just opened, wildly successful. Nobody could get a ticket. And, you know, we were chatting and, you know, just affable and fun. And I was like, how are you really? Like, how are you really right now? Not the pageant answer, but how are you really? And your face sort of dropped. And you said something I have never forgotten, which is, this success feels like I'm always fucking up somebody's house seat order. And I was like,
that's what success feels
that's
like.
what it felt like to you in that moment. Now, I'm sure it felt like a lot of other things too, but like in that moment, it was so honest and I loved it so much. And one of the things that we're so fascinated with is what it looks like on the outside, what it feels like on the inside. Because I think a lot of times, you know, we know about the curation of social media. One of the things I love about your social media, Kristen, is you will be like, today I wrote a song for this giant Pixar project and my child threw up all over me. Like, you're like really honest about the sneakers underneath the ball gown at the Academy Awards. Do you know what I mean?
By the way, I'm only wearing sneakers underneath ball gowns for all awards.
Ever again.
So smart.
Yes, yes.
It was the best night,
Yes.
and it had to do with my foot comfort.
Oh, God.
Yes. And your enjoyment of the whole experience.
Giant pockets too, so that I didn't have to worry about a teeny little purse shoving all the things in.
No.
I had giant pockets with protein bars
There you
and
go.
cell phones.
So not
and
your
a
first
full-
rodeo.
Full like Jeroboams of champagne.
But I love how honest you are about what it looks like on the outside. You've experienced like wild, enormous success, but really what it feels like on the inside when 2017 feels like you're just like white knuckling it and wondering if you're going to get through it. I love how honest
it's
you are.
interesting because the Oscars that are looming over us from Coco was one of the worst times for our family ever. We were in previews on Broadway
For Frozen.
for Frozen, and we hadn't seen our children. We had to move to Midtown
During the week.
during the week, and then like wherever we could find a second to see our kids.
Would they just like deliver them to you like in the old days where it's like the children are bathed, they're delivered to the
lovely.
parlor.
Put them over there.
Yeah.
A little, yeah. I mean,
And you spend
I'm
a
very,
moment and
very
then-
lucky that I have two sisters who were born when I was 14, and they're both amazing songwriters, by the way. Kate's got a
Yes,
show coming off Broadway
fantastic.
this spring called Between the Lines. They just announced The Book Thief that they're doing, and Lindsay is killing it in BMI right now. So
This is incredible.
They were all songwriters,
Family full of lady songwriters.
but at the time
They're
they
like
were
the Efron sisters.
they were in their 20s and they needed some cash so they could be artists. So we have this wonderful synergy where I could do what I do. I could
Yes.
be bi-coastal, and they
Ooh, it takes a
are
village.
getting,
That is good.
they're getting
Absolutely.
paid and supported as artists, but they're there for my kids.
And they're
so
there
I'm
for
very
family.
lucky, and
Yeah.
that's a big part of the formula.
Yeah.
However, that was a tough moment for our family, and we had to take our kids to the Oscars to have quality time with them.
Oh my God.
And I just remember
God.
compared to this time around, which we enjoyed every second of. And,
Yeah.
that time was just, I was so exhausted. And any second that I wasn't doing the press or doing the thing,
Yeah.
I was trying to connect with these kids who were like, Mommy and Daddy have left us.
God, they're gone. Where have you been?
Wow.
And we were also doing a Paul Robeson project for our Katie's. I just remember also being like in the middle of a history project, and she had left her computer in security.
I remember that.
And so we also were tracking down a computer, and I was doctoring a bra so that my bra wouldn't show. And I was like, I'm on hold with airport security
When you're trying
while
to get to the Academy
while
Awards?
sewing or cutting my bra with hotel scissors in the sewing kit.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's what it feels like on the inside.
That's what it feels
Yes.
like. Wow.
Amazing. Amazing.
Incredible. Is there a creative thing that you know you need to do before it's all said and done? Something on your list that you just have to do?
I think I need to direct.
Aha. I think you're right.
I think
Yes,
I need
you
to
do.
direct. And I don't know when that's going to happen. And it probably won't happen until both kids are
Yeah.
up and grown, because it's
Yeah.
hard.
It's big.
But
Theater, film, Any of the above?
Any of the above.
Yeah.
Like any of the
Yes.
above.
Yeah.
Ladies'
Any-
choice,
Oh,
literally.
yes.
Yeah.
God, you have all this experience now.
That's
That's
exciting.
going to set you up for such beautiful success as a director. That's super exciting.
I would like to do that. I think that'd be fun.
We co-sign.
Yeah,
What
that's
about
right.
you, Bobby?
Well, I would always like to do like I've never scored a project, like scored a film. I would like to do that one day, but
that's
that also
cool.
scares me because it's so much work. It's so much
Yeah.
writing, and it's so specific, and it's a kind of writing that I haven't really historically done
new
easily.
frontiers.
So
That's
it's,
right.
yeah.
Oh, I like
Can I
that.
add one more thing?
Yes.
I think I need to do Nonsense or Nonsense 2 at Encores
Do you want to?
as Sister Robert
Yes.
Ann.
Do you want
think
to?
you can do it.
No, I'm
I
sorry. Are
think
you
you
being
could
serious?
make that
Or
happen.
I would love to do an Encores at some point. I think
Yes.
that'd
Yes,
be, as
because
a
you just
performer.
rehearse for like a week or two, and then you just get up there, tell some great jokes, kill it, and then peace out.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Okay.
I don't know if it needs to be Nonsense or Nonsense 2, but
Your choice.
and I don't know if Daniel Goggins, the creator of Nonsense or Nonsense 2, wants that to happen. So
Got it.
But I feel like you just secreted that out into
That's
the world.
right. You
Let's
just
make that
are
happen.
manifesting it right now.
You both have been in the creativity business for a long time. Do you have any creative advice you'd like to share?
I think what I was saying before about treating the people that you're working with as primarily important to your actual work. That your work won't suffer for that.
Amazing.
Good
Work will come
one.
out better.
That's a
That's
good.
a good
That's
one.
a goodie.
I think it's the thing that people really take for granted is that they have a whole world of creativity in their head. There are thoughts that have never been thought, and references and rhythms and words. There's a whole library of experiences, and it's all right there. And it doesn't need to be so hard. All you have to do is go to the page or your keyboard and let it pour out. You don't need to worry about being unique. You don't have to worry about being a genius, because it's already a genius, because no one has ever gotten a taste of it. It's like liquid gold of a unique perspective that if you're
Yes.
just true and you show up, it's there. So,
Amen. That's good stuff.
thanks.
What's it all for? Do you know? Do you have some guiding purpose in your mind? Why do you go through, the hectic lifestyle?
2017.
The 2017s.
What's it all for?
What's it all for?
I do think it is tied to that feeling, to that liquid gold that's spinning around in each orb of a human brain, and that empathy and connection come from pouring that out and saying, like, your gold, is your gold like my gold? Or like, look at what your gold is telling my gold. And that and that is really, when it happens honestly, it's the most powerful thing that can happen to, it's love, really. It's the same thing as love. When you make a great connection with someone you can tell anything to.
Yeah.
But it's like love with the whole world when it works.
Shower me with your gold.
What's it all for, Bobby?
How about you?
For me, it's the world is changing so much. I think that when we got started, there was a different. I had a different feeling about it than I do now, and I feel like so much of the way the world has changed has led me to Kristen, and it's a different. I'm really loving this new world.
Yeah.
And I really follow her through it, and what she's opened my eyes up to feminism and just seeing crossing the bridge into the way she sees the world and the way others see the world, and I think it's my job now to kind of challenge myself to see to see those things and to try and help people make those things.
Wow.
When you two renew your vows, can we be your flower girls?
be there.
The two of you.
I was thinking it'd be fun to renew our vows at some point.
Then we will be your flower girls.
We will.
But what is interesting, I think, about all of this is that there are times that I look to Bobby to be the mission statement. Like I looked at when I'm like, I don't know what I have to say right now, and Bobby's fired up with something to say that I can feel happy about being his sous chef, and like let him cook for a while.
That's right.
I think right now in the world is a moment of like, I'm fired up about empowering female and people of color and voices that haven't been heard, and I feel a lot of fire around that.
Yeah.
And by the way, Bobby is mixed race, and
What about that?
he never talks about it very much, but I imagine there's going to be a moment where he's going to want to talk about that at some point, and then I'll go, okay, you are the true north on that, and
Yeah.
It's amazing that you have each other too. Like, I'm going to step forward. I'm got your back. I'm in full support, and I contribute to that thing that you're fired up about, and that throughout the course of your creative lives together and your lives together, that can shift, that you can each move into that pole position.
Parenting does affect that too, because there are times that you're like, parent of the day, and then where you're just,
I am winning.
Your kids are like
parenting.
all about mom, and
Got it.
and that happens a lot in the early years, especially where it's just like nobody wants daddy, and then there is that shift where suddenly daddy
Everybody
can do
wants
no
daddy.
wrong.
Where are they now?
You just had to wait it out patiently.
Oh yeah, where are they?
Literally, where are the kids?
Like, I mean, where are they now? Right now, there's a lot of processing humor with Bobby, humor and like talking about music and talking about stuff
That's fun.
with him, and then a lot of like, this thing happened emotionally
Feelings.
with me. So like, therapist.
Are you ever like, I'm funny too?
I try, but
I'm also emotional.
I'm letting him
I love that.
take the like Ghostbusters, teaching them all about.
Sometimes I try to help with an emotional problem, and I can see the pity in their eyes.
Dad, no. Just no.
Everybody has their gifts. Everybody has their gifts.
He does get a little protective. He is like, we'll just punch him in the face.
Wow, Bobby.
I just punch him in the face.
Finally, what or who is sparking you these days? What's inspiring you? Who's inspiring you?
Ooh, what's inspiring me? I just found this group called the Staves. That's I think it's two women singing in harmony, but it feels like three voices. I haven't even looked at them, but there's this song called Mexico that I just love, that it has when you were talking about them perseverating.
It's in there.
I'm trying to figure out those harmonies.
Mexico by the Staves. I can't wait to look that
I mean,
up.
that's like a really new and very
I'm
specific
into it. That's a good spark.
That's great.
spark.
Love that. What you got?
I've been listening to a lot of podcasts actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Any you care to mention?
Well, there's one called The Soundtrack Show, and I've been just getting really excited about, because I've been working in these. We've been doing these movies, and it's not really movie making or even movie music making. This writing songs for movie animated musicals, but we're sort of tangential to it, and so I'm starting to realize like, there's a history of this, and a whole lot of tradition and conventions that I don't know, that I would love to like learn.
You
and so
are working your way towards the scoring of a film.
One of these days, and
That's exciting.
I'm working my way towards starting a female duo group that's going to tour internationally once the coronavirus has passed.
There you go. Say the name of that podcast again.
it's called The Soundtrack Show.
The Soundtrack Show.
Yeah,
And Dave
it's
Collins has become our friend.
Nice.
W. Collins.
It's a really cool echo chamber they're in. There that's a bad word for it, but it's a really cool dialogue they're in, where Dave Collins is analyzing scores, and it's actually affecting what Bobby's writing for the movies. And then he interviews us about how he affected our writing of the movie.
That part always feels a little awkward.
It's like an
Tell me how I mattered in this process.
I love that.
Oh, God, you
thank
guys.
you so much.
I don't want it to end.
You beautiful guests. It's got to end at some point.
I know.
Unless we move in with you and you adopt
Don't
us.
be sad that it's over. Be happy it happened.
Aww.
Fuck you, Bobby Lopez. But
Words
also,
of
thank
advice.
you so much.
Thank you. Our daughter was talking about she's seen you on one of the videos where you like lick someone's face.
Oh, no. Did you say no?
No, this is what we
That's
don't
bad.
do. We don't lick faces.
Consent. Ask consent.
She loved what you said. I forget which show it was. But
I'm
she
sure
like,
I was
it the-
brilliant.
I'm sure you were amazing.
You always
How old is
are.
she? How old is she?
Spring Awakenings. That's what it was. She's 14 now.
Yeah, there you go. I always say I have the sense of humor of a 15-year-old boy. So that's that feels right.
Your demo.
That's my demographic. I guess that's it. We hope that this put another bunch of sparks in your file. Listen to us. If there's a spark you'd like us to explore, or if you've taken a spark and you fanned it into a creative flame and you'd like to share that, won't you email us at thesparkfile@gmail.com, or you can submit it through our website. That's right. We've got a website, thesparkfile.com.
We'll even take your feedback, but you know the price of admission. First, you have to share a creative risk that you have taken recently.
We're not playing about that. And be sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe, rate, 5-star review it. If you like this podcast, share it with people that you love. If you didn't like it, I don't know, Chris Bix, Bobby, what do you say to your critics?
Die, vampire, die.
Yay! If something tickles your fancy and gets your creative juices flowing, we are writing you a forever permission slip to make that thing that's been knocking at your door. It's your turn to take a spark and fan it into a flame.
You got to talk it out. You got to Johann Sebastian Bach it out. And when you finally catch that hook, you got to let it go and rock it out.
You got to take it and make it. Bye. Bye. Bye.
You can't rhyme like they do.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I wanna make or how I wanna be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell from the Spark File here to let you know that the doors are open for the Spark File Illume, a 9-month group creativity coaching mastermind that invites you to be the chief creative officer and chief marketing officer of your creativity. But what does that mean? That means in 9 months in Illume, you will clarify and advance your big creative goals and learn how to effectively share your work with the world. Now, if you're listening to this and you're an experienced creative or an accomplished professional who seeks a space where it is safe to attempt something you've never tried before, or complete a big creative project, or take your work to the next level and acquire the skills needed to share your creative work with the world, Illume might be right for you. We are calling in emotionally intelligent, high-functioning creatives who are ready to level up. You can find out more by going to thesparkfile.com/Illume, but do it now to find out if Illume is right for you and to save with early bird discounts. That's thesparkfile.com/Illume. Take a leap, take a risk. Go to thesparkfile.com/Illume and join us for Illume.